Good evening, and thank you everyone for joining us for this evening's public forum for the candidates for police chief for the city of Edmonds. We appreciate you joining us here virtually, as well as joining us online where we are streaming on Facebook. We are also live streaming on Comcast 21 and Ziply 39. Additionally, the recording will be available on our website Tuesday, November 10th. We did ask the public to submit questions ahead of time for this forum, so we will not be taking questions during the meeting. We do ask participants to please make sure their sound and their video is off so we can focus on the candidates. I am Jessica Neal-Hoyson. I'm the Director of Human Resources, and I will be facilitating the questions for the candidates. Our first candidate will be Mr. Sherman Pruitt.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Chief Pruitt, we can hear you. Do you have your video? There you go.
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
We will be going through a series of questions. We have approximately half an hour for you to answer those questions. We do have 6 of them, so just so you can keep that in mind as you are working through your answers.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to jump right in. So Chief Pruitt, can you please tell us about yourself, share with us your background in law enforcement, and please include specific information as to how many people, sworn and unsworn, you command in your current position, and how many years of police experience you have in a command or supervisory role.
Okay. Well, my name is Sherman Pruitt. I am 52 years old, married to a beautiful woman named Melody. We have 5 children, an 18-year-old son, 22, 26-year-old daughters, and a 28, 30-year-old sons. We have 5 grandkids, 4 granddaughters, and 1 grandson. I grew up in the Bay Area. My mother is Pacific Islander and Filipino, and my father is Black and Native American. When I graduated high school, I got the opportunity to play college football for a few years, and then I served in the United States Marine Corps for 12 years, active duty, and deployed to Somalia, Rwanda, and Iraq a few times. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I immediately went into law enforcement, but I didn't want to waste all my 12 years of active duty service, so I did 8 more years of military reserves with the Washington Air National Guard. In law enforcement, I've been working in law enforcement approximately 16 years now. My previous agency, I held the position of patrol officer, became a detective in the criminal investigation unit where I did violent crimes and sexual assault crimes. I got cross-commissioned with the FBI and U.S. Marshals where we investigated a lot of the crimes in my area. I went back to patrol, became a patrol sergeant, and I got asked to join the SWAT team. So I ended up going through SWAT basic school and served as a patrol sergeant. After I served there, I went back into detectives and became a detective sergeant in charge of the criminal investigation unit in the drug task force. The new chief came in and he had asked for me looking for command staff members, and he had sent us to command executive management training, and he had selected me as one of the commanders, and I ended up being assigned as his second to be the patrol commander, where I was in charge of the patrol division, corrections division, drug task force, criminal investigation unit, and the SWAT team. And then I ended up, the chief had decided to retire and resign, and the council had asked me to be the interim chief of police. I was responsible for 65 personnel. We had 46 commissioned law enforcement officers, and we had approximately 19 civilian personnel. Then I decided I needed to complete all my tasks because my goal was to be a chief of police. So I had left my department and went over to Soxwaddle Police Department, where I'm currently, it's a smaller agency. So I ended up being I'm the chief of police over there, but I'm considered director of public safety and director of emergency management. I'm responsible for a personnel of 10 people. I have 8 commissioned officers and 2 civilian personnel. And I got us cross-commissioned with the Skagit County Sheriff's Office, and that's where I'm at. I've been through internal affairs investigation school, criminal, as well as a background investigation school, and chief of police school. And of course, I have my bachelor's degree in criminal justice administration.
Thank you, Chief Pruitt. As the City of Edmonds Chief of Police, what will be your top 3 priorities, and what, if any, immediate actions are necessary to achieve those priorities?
I think the top 3 priorities, as you know, what's going on in our nation. I think reinventing policing with dealing with the community. I know for the past 60 years, they've been talking about community policing, and there's just a lot of things regarding talks and how they could do things. But I think truly being engaged with the community, with just not the community, but with businesses that affects everyone in the city. So I think reinventing the policing in the community as well as our businesses. I think training is important. Specifically, the initiative I-940 regarding de-escalation training. They have passed that initiative. However, some of the challenges we're having in law enforcement is getting the training completed due to instructors and trying to train all the law enforcement officers in the state of Washington. So I think making that a priority, and I know WASPIC, Washington State Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, they have made that part of their proposed reform in law enforcement regarding the initiative, making sure we put that at the front line of make sure we're getting that training. Then also morale. I think ensuring that we maintain that morale in our police department, because as you know, some of the challenges we're having across our nation is recruiting, as well as a lot of law enforcement officers are leaving law enforcement because they feel that they're being targeted. They're just trying to do their job in a professional, tactful manner, but now they're having a lot of being targeted with senseless attacks, where, as you know, what has happened with individuals approaching the police cars and shooting our fellow officers in a vehicle when they're just sitting there. So I think maintaining that morale, being open-minded, and as well as being transparent is the things that top 3 priorities that I have with those things that I just discussed.
Thank you. School resource officers being removed from schools, please share how you will now engage with the youth in our community and form positive relationships with all, including our BIPOC youth.
So I'm very passionate about this field of work. I was a DARE instructor and a RAD Kids instructor. We're trying to empower our kids to make sure that they're not going down that wrong path of doing drugs or doing anything in a criminal aspect. When I became an interim chief of police at my previous agency, I implemented a school resource officer into our schools because we had 5 schools. And I think it's important. But now with funding and so forth, I know they're having to scale back from that and put people back onto patrol. But one thing that I've always done when I was on patrol, I remember when I was on patrol, I used to always ask my chief, hey, is it okay if I could get out my car and go play with the kids on the basketball court? Or can I get out there and play catch football with them? Is it okay? And he said, absolutely. So I've been doing that since the beginning of my career, as well as since I was aging myself when I was a senior in high school in 1986. You know, I used to get out and talk to all the kids, and I was part of a program called SAD, Students Against Drunk Driving and Drugs. So being that mentor and also being that facilitator, I think with a lot of things that's going on right now in our nation with the BIPOC, you know, which, you know, is the Black, Indigenous, and people of color, I think making sure that you're going out there and reaching out to them and making sure that you let them know that they can see all the law enforcement officers in a different light than just when we're just going out and arresting individuals or arresting their family members or friends. I think getting out there and just talking to them and reassuring and be open, be very transparent and open. I think a lot of times people are aware of the issues and problems that we're having in our nation, as well as surrounding agencies and in our community, but people don't want to talk about it. But I think talking about it, awareness and transparency is the key thing with working with the youth and getting our officers out of their cars. And I know, unfortunately, due to COVID, we can't do that, but we can still do it safely and just talk to kids. But that's something that I definitely hits home to me, and I truly enjoy, because I truly believe our children is our future, and you could give them a different perspective of and want to recruit them to be law enforcement officers in the future.
Thank you, Chief Pruitt. Most police agencies throughout the nation have seen a decrease in public trust since the George Floyd incident in Minnesota. Some are calling for law enforcement to comply with the 8 can't wait and there have been calls to defund the police in some areas. Has your agency been dealing with these issues? And if so, what steps have you taken to build public trust and to maintain community support for public safety?
I have not experienced that at my current agency. Our council and our community has really been supportive with us, and and so I haven't experienced that. But my son is a Seattle PD police officer. He's seen a lot of those challenges, and I understand what he's going through. So I've discussed things with him as well as my peers and my counterparts. I think a lot of things that we need to ensure that we're doing is making sure that we're being transparent with the community, making sure that we're addressing it. I think some of the things I've said previous, making sure that we talk about some of the issues that are out there instead of just blindly just saying that, oh, it doesn't exist. Um, I think listening to the community and being open-minded and looking at their perspective of things, because it's all about their perspective. It's not about mine or anyone else's. If their perspective is and you're looking at it and being very understanding and compassionate about it, I think you'll have a better understanding of what issues and problems they may have. So I think transparency, communication is key. I know we've been dealing with a lot of things where you see a lot of things come up with law enforcement dealing with mentally ill people. So I think working closely with the mental health professionals, embedding them into our police department, because I was trying to do that with my previous agency, I was trying to get a mental health professional trained and assigned to our police department. So that way we had someone, that way if we ever ran into an issue, we can have someone there that can talk to them. And so I know that the 8 can't wait, and some of the things I wanted to write down, and what if people don't understand what the 8 can't wait is use of force changes, de-escalation, use of force continuum, the chokehold, LVNR, exhaust all alternatives, duty to intervene, comprehensive reporting, ban shooting at moving vehicles. That is some of the things I know that WASPIC and other police executive and professionals are dealing with regarding the proposed reforms that we're presenting to our governor as well as state representatives, to ensure that we're being actively involved with that, because we're passionate about making sure we understand what the community is saying, and we understand that the changes need to be made. So those are the things that we're doing now.
Thank you, Chief Pruitt.
No problem.
With the heightened sense of anxiety in communities, what can the police department do to help develop a sense of community for all that live in Edmonds? How do you plan to reach out and involve the citizens of Edmonds in their police department? And what can the department do to support those communities of color that may not feel supported by those in uniform?
I think getting out there to the community. I know one thing we did at my previous agency was we had barbecues at the different communities. We would invite the business owners, we would invite the community and the specific area of the community, and we would advertise it. So that way the community members would come out, and we would also have the fire department come out. So that way they can meet all our firefighters as well. Because, we work closely together and collaboratively together with dealing with any issues in our community. So that way they can interact with us in a different light. So community barbecues, I think going out and being very open to let them know that the community can reach out to not only just the chief of police, but any officer to talk about any issues, and also, go on the social media aspect and give us some of their recommendations, what we could do better. I think going out to the businesses, I know if I get selected as the chief of police, I plan on going to the business and introducing myself and listening to what issues or concerns that they may have, or what we can do better as a law enforcement agency to better serve the city of Edmonds. One thing, my residential area is a HOA, so going to the HOA meetings, listening to what is going on in their community, because every community is different. So going out to the HOA meetings and talking to them as well, and then going out and reaching out to the people of color that are having issues. And again, everyone has to have that different perspective of what they may be going through, because you may not be experiencing some of the things then others may not. I come from a very diverse background. I told you all my nationality. I'm married to a Caucasian woman. One of my granddaughters is half Mexican. My other granddaughter is half Native American. So I have a very diverse background. So I think dealing with some of those things and just getting out there and just talking to people and having opportunities just interact with people, not just when there's any law enforcement response or criminal aspects of things. I think being able to get out there and just talk to people, I think communication is key. I think that's essential. And I think that's how we can be successful in serving the city of Edmonds.
Thank you. I appreciate your continued focus on the answer with the interruptions. And again, apologize for those.
No problem. No problem.
So leadership is exceptionally important in the role of chief of police. Can you please explain what leadership means to you and how you apply that both internally to your staff and externally to the public?
So I've been leading and managing and dealing with people since I was 20 years old. I'm 52. So for 32 years, I've been managing and leading people. I believe in leading by example. I like being a good role model. I don't like to ask. I can't. What I expect from my officers is what I expect from myself. I think holding ourselves to a higher standard. I think being very transparent as a leader. I think what information you pass down, from the top to the bottom, as well as it was from the bottom to the top. I think listening to each other's opinions and respecting each other's opinions, and because I'm very experienced and I've done a lot of things in my life, but there could be, and I've had this happen where I've had a 28-year-old officer that's had different experience than I've had in my life that I hadn't had the experience. So listen to their perspective and being very open-minded and listening to what they have to say, I think builds that morale. It builds that it's this. So I think ultimately just lead by example, right? And listening to your officers, and then as well as making sure that you let them know you care about them, being involved with them. I have those leadership traits of making sure that integrity, you look at the core values of what the police department is all about, right? Service, trust, stewardship, and integrity. I think that's everything that I've been doing all my life, and since I served in the military as well as in law enforcement, and continuing on with that. But being a chief where you could come and talk to me about anything, as well as any command staff, and listen to what they have to say and what we can do to better our department and better serve our community.
Thank you very much. So that was our last structured question for you. Are there any comments or things you want to share with the public prior to closing your public forum?
As you can see, we had some things that people have strong opinions and how they feel. And the thing about it is I understand that people have strong beliefs in their own mind of what they believe. I really want to thank the community for listening to get to know me better and listening into this community forum. And I really appreciate it. And I hope everyone stays safe and be safe.
Thank you, Chief Pruitt. We appreciate you coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chief Lawless. You are on mute, Chief Lawless. You are still muted. There you go.
I'm sorry, it's telling me I couldn't unmute myself, so.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Sorry about the delay. As you know, this is the public forum where the public are going to be able to listen to your answers to their pre-submitted questions. And I will go ahead and begin those questions. We have approximately 6 questions. Well, we have exactly 6 questions, along with an opportunity for you to be able to do some closing remarks. And we will still be able to provide you with 30 minutes for that interview.
All right.
We'll just jump right in. So, Chief Lawless, can you please tell us about yourself? Please share your background in law enforcement and include specific information as to how many people, sworn and unsworn, you command in your current position, and how many years of police experience you have in a command or supervisory role.
Well, certainly. First off, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. A little bit about me. Born and raised in Florida. Parents divorced when I was young, about 13, so we moved around a little bit, but had a good time in South Florida there growing up. Graduated from high school, went to the University of Georgia for a year. Had to go back to work and help take care of the family for a little bit, and worked construction for a while, and then got into law enforcement in 1987. Worked for the QS Police Department, and was down there for about 8 years. Um, was a patrol officer, worked in narcotics, detectives, did some training down there. About 3.5 years in to my career, I actually got promoted to sergeant, and was a sergeant at the time I left and moved out here to Washington State in 1995. Started over here with the police department again, started new as a patrol officer. Quickly started to take on additional roles here within the department, training, FTOing of new officers. Had some interesting and fun assignments. Once I got promoted to corporal, I had a patrol squad that I worked underneath the sergeant for a couple of months, and then got promoted to sergeant. And pretty much immediately upon getting promoted to sergeant, several months later, was assigned down to the training academy in Burien, where I taught new recruits for a while. And then upon completion of that assignment, worked as a narcotics task force sergeant with the South County Narcotics Task Force. In 2008, I was promoted to my current position, Assistant Chief of Police, and have been overseeing field services. And with the retirement of Chief Compan, the first of the year, I've been serving as the Acting Chief of Police here with the department. Had some great experiences throughout all of that. I've had the opportunity to attend the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. Also went back to Quantico later, about a year after attending the National Academy in 2009, 2010. I was able to attend the Law Enforcement Executive Leadership Seminar, which was another very good positive experience, learning from not only the folks there at the academy, but the other students within the class. One of the career highlights I've had with the Edmonds Police Department was in 2013, being chosen as Officer of the Year as an Assistant Chief of Police, not one of the line officers, but as the Assistant Chief of Police, and that was by all the members of the department, and that was a very humbling experience. As far as the leadership and things of that nature, as far as supervision, probably more of my career has been in the supervisory role because I've been doing it so long now. But assistant chief for a little over 12 and a half years, almost 13 years now, and then sergeant or corporal between Key West and Edmonds for probably a total of another 10 years on top of that for out of my 33-year career. I've also had the opportunity to be an assistant commander and a commander for the North Sound Metro SWAT team, which is an interesting situation because the team encompasses 12 jurisdictions, 12 cities that range from Monroe to Kirkland and Redmond, with 46 officers on that team, officers and sergeants, serving a population of about 350,000. As a sergeant, I would supervise anywhere from 4 to 12 officers, depending on the assignment and the shift. As the assistant chief of police over field services, it was generally averaging around 40 commissioned and 3 non-commissioned fell under my side of the house, and then the other assistant chief was responsible for the non-commissioned, some of the other officers and positions throughout the department.
Thank you, Chief. As the City of Edmonds Chief of Police, what will be your top 3 priorities and what, if any, immediate actions are necessary to achieve those priorities?
I think first and foremost is going to be the continuation of community outreach and engagement and maintaining the extremely positive relationship we have within the community. That's something that this organization has always had the privilege of having and experiencing, is a very positive relationship and having that trust of the community. But we also understand that that's something that's got to be worked on, earned, maintained every single day that we're out here. So Expanding upon those efforts that we've already begun earlier in the year, I created a community outreach team. It's already been very successful in engaging the community. Even during COVID, having the opportunity to do the park tour where the officers were able to go out into the parks, and from socially distanced meeting places to meet with the members of the community, hear what their concerns were, hear what their needs were, and to just engage with them, talk to them, get to know them, and have them getting to know us a little bit better. And given the great park system that we have in the city, it gave us the opportunity to do that throughout the entire city, which was very nice. Transparency and accessibility is a huge part of that. We've done a lot to work in that direction through our outreach through social media, some of the things we've done with our website, and have it be interactive, real time with some of the things that the community can log into there and see what we're doing as an organization. One thing that we would like to do, I would like to do, and it's on my list, is to start up our community academy again, our Citizens Academy as it used to be called. But right now with COVID, if we can figure out a way to adapt that to an online or virtual world, that's something we'd very much like to do. But that outreach to the community, all members of the community, I think we've gone a long way in working toward that and increasing the diversity of the department and having the department be more reflective of the community that we serve and we're part of. We're the community, and the community is us. We need to be reflective of one another and what those concerns are. I think one of the other things that would be one of my top three is definitely going to be our body camera pilot project that we've engaged in. A lot of work has gone into that already. There's more work to be done. We've identified a vendor, but that goes toward the accessibility and the transparency. It's beneficial to everyone to have those interactions, video and audio recorded. But there are some considerations to go along with that. First and foremost, the privacy of the community, then the privacy of the officers as well when they're engaging with the community and what those situations will be. But to have those interactions be available for everyone is just one more level of transparency that we think is very important. It's something that we've looked at off and on throughout the years. There have been some hurdles to that, but we're trying to overcome those. And a good way to start is with the pilot project to see what the true benefits will be, and then move forward from that. And finally, I think the third that's really important that as things go on, it sometimes gets lost, but we're still in the middle of a COVID health epidemic and trying to continue to have continuity of operations within the organization and maintain the service levels for the community while keeping the community safe and also keeping our officers and our staff safe. We've had a couple of exposures, but we've been lucky that it hasn't been worse, quite frankly. It wouldn't take a whole lot for a vast majority of the department, given the nature of the closeness they work together, to become infected. So we've been very cognizant of that. But we need to continue to work with the community and for the community, and also taking into account the economic impacts that COVID has had on the city and moving forward in the next couple of years. So staying safe, hopefully not seeing any staff reductions beyond the few that we've already identified as a result of some of the economic concerns, but it's all COVID related. We have to stay safe, but we still have to be out here and do our job. We're here 24/7. We can't, it's not conducive to have police officers telecommuting. So we still have to keep everyone safe.
Thank you. With the school resource officers being removed from schools, please share how you will now engage with the youth in our community and form positive relationships with all, including our BIPOC youth.
One thing that we have been exploring and we've been talking directly with the district about is the possibility of still maintaining a relationship with the school through a school liaison officer program. We have done that in the past when budgetary concerns on part of the school district resulted in our having to not have SROs in the high school for a period of time. It wasn't as effective, I don't believe, but it maintained the relationships. And that's the big thing with the SRO was maintaining relationships with the students. So we very much want to continue that. If that's something that we can work out, the district is very much open to that, and it's something that we're exploring. But we need to take every opportunity we possibly can to engage our youth. We need to have those relationships with them, understand what their concerns, what their fears are. There's a lot of information out there for them to have to synthesize, and trying to let them know that the officers, we as an organization, our officers are here to protect everyone. We need to maintain those relationships. We need to have that trust, and that's across the community. So if we can have youth forums with our community engagement team, I think that would be fantastic. Whether it would be a quarterly or a biannual, whatever it may be, to have a forum to sit down with them and just have discussions. What are they experiencing? What are they feeling? What are they seeing? What have they witnessed? What can we do to help alleviate some of those concerns, address some of those concerns, answer those questions for them? There's already plenty of youth organizations that are present. Our involvement with that, having officers just swing by and let everybody know, people like everyone else. And again, it's the engagement, it's the communication, it's the transparency, and whatever opportunity presents itself. We have an Explorer post here within the Edmonds Police Department. And even if the youth aren't looking necessarily for a law enforcement career, it's a great way to have exposure to us being law enforcement in the Edmonds Police Department, to see what we do, to learn about it, and help spread the word, engage the youth to help us get that messaging across. So anything we can do to further promote and expand our post would be great, just to get them to have that exposure. But again, any opportunity to simply just talk, whether it's side of the road, at a call, at a formal event, what have you, we just need to be there and to listen and to engage.
Thank you. Most police agencies throughout the nation have seen a decrease in public trust since the George Floyd incident in Minnesota. Some are calling for law enforcement to comply with the 8 can't wait, and there have been calls to defund the police in some areas. Has your agency been dealing with these issues? And if so, what steps have you taken to build public trust and to maintain community support for public safety?
Every agency in the country has been dealing with it, because even if it's not something that is a direct experience here in Edmonds, it still impacts law enforcement when you see some of the things that have taken place over the past, I wouldn't even say 6 months. It's been going on for a long time. I think it's more not prevalent, but it's more easily accessible when you see it on the news and you see it firsthand, as individuals, where a lot of people haven't seen some unfortunate incidents. So we all deal with those issues, because something that happens across the country, even though it doesn't happen here, impacts the way people view law enforcement, and we understand that. And we have to rebuild and maintain trust for something that we don't necessarily do, but we understand that. 8 Can't Wait, when we were first contacted by 8 Can't Wait with their questions and their flyers, I immediately put out a response on June the 5th to address that with an open letter. Of those 8 issues of concern, we had already long ago, through the culture of this department, established practices that address those concerns. And I was able to respond that way, that we have policies in place, we have procedures in place, we have practices in place. We are very transparent in what we have as far as our policies and procedures and their availability. If you go to our website, you can log in to one of the links, Power DMS, and it will show you our entire policy manual. It will show you some of the training that we've undertaken. It will show you our day-to-day operations as we put out operational orders and general orders and things of that nature, just to see what it is that we're doing and how we function as an organization. We take a lot of pride in, and it's very important for us to incorporate our department's mission, vision, and values into everything we do. And that's individually from myself down to the officer, the two officers that started several weeks ago. As an organization, everything we do should be incorporating our mission, vision, and values. And if it's not, then we need to address that. Our motto is service before self, and we take that very seriously. Our department is fortunate again to have an incredible amount of community support, but we can't take that for granted. That's something that I've stated repeatedly from the moment I was named the acting chief of police. I put out a new chief's message, and I talked about that very thing, that without the public's trust and confidence, we can't function. That's all we have to rely on. That's what validates us. So we've got to work cooperatively with the community, and it's the community that we're proud to serve. We're sworn to serve, and our effectiveness is a direct reflection of those positive relationships. And again, we don't take for granted 1 second the overall positive relationships we have and the support we have of the community. It's very humbling for all of us, and we recognize that we have it much better than many other places do in that regard. But that's also a reflection of the work, all the fine men and women within this police department. So it's something that we work on every day, every contact we have with the public, every contact we have with a community member, or even someone that's unfortunately on the receiving end of law enforcement action. You still treat everyone with respect, and that's something that we're very committed to.
Thank you, Chief. With a heightened sense of anxiety in communities, what can the police departments do to help develop a sense of community for all that live in Edmonds? How do you plan to reach out and involve the citizens of Edmonds in their police department? And what can the department do to support those communities of color that may not feel supported by those in uniform?
Well, I don't really want to sound like a broken record, but again, it's engaging with and working with cooperatively with the community, being open, being transparent, being accessible. And that doesn't mean just simply having a phone number that they can call to file a report. It means, having an officer that will show up and listen to what their concerns are, what their issues are, being empathetic to the situation and trying to find a solution. And, for us, as a police department, we are peace officers, and that means a lot more than just showing up and having the authority to go and take someone into custody, unfortunately, when those things happen. It means being available and being a resource and trying to, if we can't solve the situation for them, at least be able to be a conduit for those that can. So, the accessibility, transparency is huge part of what we've done over the years, and we want to continue, but unfortunately COVID impacted it this year. Our annual open house is a great way for people to come down here and experience, see the police department, meet with the officers, and just have a relaxed interaction with them. I mentioned the community academy, the neighborhood tour that we were able to do with our community outreach team, I think was another good step in the right direction, something that we are going to expand upon and have be a regular event. And that team is also engaged in other components of the community. On several occasions, they've met with the Diversity Commission on several issues. So having as much of an opportunity, taking advantage of every opportunity we can to engage the community, but doing so where the community feels comfortable on their turf, so to speak. So whether it's a civic meeting or a community meeting that they want to have in their neighborhood that we attend, whether it's at a house of worship and they want to have a group discussion with the police officer, wherever we can take the opportunity to bridge any gaps that may exist and just have open, honest communication with folks. The community hopefully does know that we are here for them. The officers within our department have become more representative of the community, and we are hopeful to become even more representative of them. We've been able to add some diversity to your Edmonds Police Department over the past 5 to 10 years and have it be more reflective of the community that they are part of and that they serve. Uh, you know, the biggest thing that we can do, again, is that transparency, that openness, and the ability to listen and ensure that people understand that we're not here as necessarily always the authoritarian group. We're here to listen, we're here to engage, and our actions should be reflective of the desires of the community. And that again is part of listening and showing support for the community. And that's the entire community. And that's when I talk about, what are we going to do? How are we going to interact with the community wherever they feel most comfortable in trying to engage with us. And that's our desire, is to engage with our entire community. So every contact with the community should be an opportunity for our officers to do that, to continue to garner and earn that support of the community. Let them know that we are here to serve them. We're here to be representative of them. We're not opposing forces in this. We're all in this together.
Thank you, Chief. Leadership is exceptionally important in the role of Chief of Police. Can you please explain what leadership means to you and how you apply that both internally to your staff and externally to the public?
Well, both internally and externally, to me, leadership is always meant setting an example. Everything should start at the top. How I operate each and every day is meant to be from that leadership perspective. It's about having a vision for the organization, whether it's a police department or a Fortune 500 type company, but having a vision for the organization, the community, being able to communicate that vision to the folks that work with you. I don't like to say under you or for you. They work with you. We're in this cooperatively. And the members of the department, they're not here to make me look good. I'm here to set the tone for them and then provide them the skills, the abilities, the means to go out and initiate and get the ball rolling to achieve that vision and do their jobs effectively and professionally. So I've always viewed it as from a servant leadership perspective, is again, what do I need to do? What tools do I provide you so that you can go out and effectively do your jobs? And with the community, I would say that it's the same. What is it that you need from me? And I set that example and getting our organization to that point. It's listening to the community. It's going and engaging with them, whether it's a community meeting or having a meeting with someone in the office here or on the phone or probably out on the bench right now at 6 feet away with a mask on. But I've done that too. I've met with people out on the bench in front of the police department to have a face-to-face conversation about concerns that they may have. So it's being responsive to the needs and the concerns of the community, and that is the entire community, because everyone's perspective is different. And recognizing that there's no cookie cutter answer. There's no one size fits all. Even within Edmonds, you've got some very diverse communities. You've got Highway 99, you've got downtown Bowl area, you've got waterfront, you've got just a whole group of little micro communities within the greater Edmonds boundaries. And we need to be responsive to all of those. The needs of someone downtown may vary somewhat from somebody that might live in one of the apartment complexes on Highway 99. And we need to be able to adapt and still be able to address each and every person's needs effectively and uniquely for what their concerns are. It may not always be the perfect response, but we need to be responsive, and we need to be able to assist them as best we can. And again, if it's not something that falls within our our realm, so to speak, what are the resources that we can help get them to address those issues? Let's get them in touch with folks. And I think we do a good job of that with our community partners as well.
Well, thank you, Chief Lawless. That was our last formal question for you. Are there any closing remarks you would like to share with the public before we end?
I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to watch tonight and to submit the questions. And I thank everyone for the opportunity and the honor to serve in whatever capacity is with the police department. I've thoroughly enjoyed my career as a police officer and my 25 plus years with the Edmonds Police Department. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I love the community of Edmonds, which is why I've been here so long, and I've enjoyed it, and plan on staying here for a while longer. But again, thank you all very much, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Chief Lawless. Well, thank you, everybody who joined us this evening for the public forum. I am going to share some information. We do ask if you would like to submit your feedback as to the candidates, that you can send that to me. My email address is provided here. We do ask if you could do that no later than November 13th, as we are moving forward in this process, but we do appreciate everybody who took the time to submit the questions and to join us this evening.